Welcome back. The mystery surrounding the disappearance of Madeleine McCann from a Portuguese holiday apartment has plagued her family and the world for 15 years now. Police on the continent believe German suspect Christian B is the man responsible, but bombshell revelations from a new documentary cast serious doubt over his involvement, potentially blowing apart the official police investigation. To discuss this tonight, I'm joined by the man who knows more about the criminal probe than any other journalist or investigator on the planet. Former police officer turned reporter and author Mark Williams-Thomas is best known for posthumously exposing Jimmy Savile as a paedophile in a series of damning documentaries. Now he's out to unravel the mystery of the world's most famous missing persons case. Here's a look from the new show Madeleine McCann, The Case Against Christian B, which is set to air on Channel 5 tomorrow night.
We found a girl aged 4 to 5 and the mother, both of them posed in photographs. The child was not Madeleine, but was a blonde girl. We've got someone saying that night they were with him. But why hasn't this come out? I can't quite believe what I've been told, that on the night of Madeleine's disappearance, Christian B was with a woman outside of Private Ooze and spent the night with her. And if that's true, can't it be involved in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann?
Mark Williams-Thomas, I had the privilege of watching your brilliant investigation earlier today. It's certainly full of bombshells, but by the end of it, it doesn't feel like you're convinced that Christian B necessarily is Maddie's killer.
Evening, Dan. No, I mean, the whole public, I think, have been fed a story from the prosecutor in Germany that Christian B is the man responsible. 2 years ago, he made an announcement to say that he is their prime suspect. And as a result of that, slowly over the forthcoming months, up until to date, he has released certain pieces of information. Crucially, his evidence is built around a significant telephone number, 680, which he believes Christian B was using on the night of Madeleine's disappearance, and goes further to say that he believes he used that outside the apartment. We've carefully examined that, and firstly, it cannot be placed right outside the apartment. It's up to a 32 kilometres distance. But more significantly, we have now shown that that telephone number that they believe Christian B was using on the night is actually belonging to somebody else. And they cannot place him on the night using that telephone number. So unfortunately, the evidence that's been put into public domain by the German prosecutor, and I'll give him some benefit, there may be a language barrier, is not true.
What we do know is that Christian B is a despicable paedophile, sexual abuser who was operating very close to Pride Luz at the time of Madeleine's disappearance. What you have discovered, though, is that some of the evidence about him, which includes claims that he confessed to the killing of Maddie and may even have had videos containing Maddie, you don't necessarily believe those witnesses are credible.
Yeah, so we've looked at every single key piece of evidence the German prosecutors talked about and that we know about. And we've had the advantage of working very closely with Christian B's solicitor. And as a result of that, we've gained access to Christian B. He has spoken to me. I'm the only journalist in the world that he's communicated with. He actually was prepared for me to go into jail and talk to him and even give me an interview. That was stopped by the German authorities, so we've had to do it by letter. But he has corresponded with me, and ultimately he has provided me with an alibi. We've checked that alibi out. And let's be very clear, when we started this investigation, when I was approached to make this programme, we set out on the basis that Christian B was probably the offender, because that is how the narrative was playing out in the world's media. It is only when we started to look at it that the evidence wasn't stacking up. And in fact, it was falling apart. We presented every single piece of our evidence to the German prosecutor, so he knows everything that we have. It's been difficult watching him over the recent days when he's actually said he isn't aware of all the evidence. He is. It's all been shared with him. Unfortunately, he has his narrative, and that is the narrative they're following. And they have, as very often senior investigating officers do, they've become tunnel vision to look for what they want to see rather than objectively look at all the evidence and say, does it all stack up? As you said, Dan, he is a vile man. He has got numerous convictions of offences against children and undoubtedly has committed more offences to which he hasn't yet been prosecuted for. But that doesn't make him the abductor of Madeleine McCann. And the problem is if you focus solely on him, the real abductor and killer has got free.
And you still think that killer is probably out there?
Absolutely. There is not enough evidence. And the German prosecutor himself has said they've been investigating him publicly for 2 years and a year prior to that. So for 3 years, they've been investigating Christian B. There is only one person who says that he was using that telephone number 680, but not on the day, in the weeks and months previous to that. Nobody else has come forward with all this worldwide publicity to say that he was using that telephone number. We've got evidence to show that he wasn't. And they're not in a position to charge him after 3 years. And I think it's a terrible position to be in when you've got an individual who is a nasty individual in jail for another offence, who is being basically publicly tried for this. I mean, the German prosecutor has effectively tried him, prosecuted him, and convicted him already. What should be happening is the German prosecutors say, well, we feel that he needs to answer questions in relation to that and let the court decide. But they're not in a position to do that because they don't have the evidence. And the problem is that, as I resolved in the programme, what it leaves you with is an individual who is still out there at large, because I do not believe it's Christian B. The evidence does not stack up.
Wow. Mark, just finally, do you have any indication on how Kate and Jerry McCann potentially feel about your revelations? And do you think that this is good or bad news for them? Does it increase the hope that Maddie potentially still could be alive if it's not Christian B behind the disappearance?
Well, Jerry and Kate are very supportive of the authorities. There is a difference between the way the authorities have treated this. The Metropolitan Police still treat it as a missing person. The Germans are treating it as a murder, and as are the Portuguese, very much so, because actually they need to do it for their statute of limitations. Jerry and Kate will take their lead always from the authorities, and the authorities have said to her, look, we are confident we have the right person, and they put trust in that. I think they are aware of my programme, they're aware of the full content of the programme. It will be difficult for them because they obviously hope that the person is caught, and when somebody comes out publicly in the national world media and says we've got the right person, of course, that is massive hope for Jerry and Kate. But unfortunately, they're no further forward now than before. So I think the German prosecutor and the German prosecutors also have to be very aware that everything they say, Jerry and Kate live on every word. And I spoke to the prosecutors about this. I said, why did you not have lots of conversations with Jerry and Kate prior to going public about your information? And they felt that it wasn't appropriate to do that to such a degree. So they haven't really been in great communication with Jerry and Kate. So it's a shame that the German prosecutor has played this out in the world media rather than playing it out on the right stage, which is through the criminal justice system.
Well, bombshell stuff. Thank you so much to Mark Williams-Thomas, the man behind tomorrow night's brand new and sensational documentary on Madeleine McCann, airing on Channel 5. He says Christian B, not Maddie's killer. Wow.